freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 341 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearmsauctions.com, where you set the price on guns, ammo, and accessories. I am one of your hosts, Cheryl Todd.
And I'm the other guy, Dan Todd. Our theme today is the 2021 Arizona Attorney General race, and our guest is Tiffany Shedd. Tiffany is a conservative Republican candidate for Arizona State Attorney General. In addition to being an attorney, she is a farmer, a small business owner, a homeschool mom, Republican Precinct Committeewoman, and an NRA and 4-H certified pistol and shotgun coach. In that capacity, she has taught children the basics of firearm safety and competitive shooting for over 15 years. Mm-hmm. Tiffany is running for Attorney General to defend Arizonans' Second Amendment rights, secure our southern border, and fight back against federal overreach.
Well, welcome back to the show, Miss Tiffany.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we had you on, it's been way too long ago. And so this is exciting to have you back on again. It's a whole new race. It's a whole new season that our nation is in, a whole new season that our state is in. And we are just excited to talk to you about stepping into this rough and tumble arena of politics. This can't be an easy decision, but I have to know, was there like a lightning rod moment that you said, that's it, I have to step up and get involved? Or was it kind of a culmination of things?
Well, it was a culmination of things kind of followed by a lightning rod moment. I've been blessed to live in Arizona, which is one of the freest states in the union. And I think as a lot of longtime Arizonans took for granted the basic liberties we have here. I mean, the Arizona Constitution gives us more liberty than the U.S. Constitution. It's one of the freest on individual rights. It's low regulation. And I have spent a lifetime building businesses, advising business clients, working in natural resources, doing shooting sports, and just, enjoying being an Arizonan and an American. And it became sort of like we were being strangled by government that has forgotten that they only have the authority we consent to. And I was complaining, we were at a high school rodeo shooting event, and I was complaining to my husband about getting good people to run and that we would help them. And he said, no, you need to run, quit being a coward. You can't just always be behind the scenes. And so, at the end of the day, I have 3 children. We have a lot of roots in Arizona. I come from a rural community, and I really cannot, at the end of my life, look people in the eye and say, man, this was a great state. This was a great place to live. And I let it go on my watch. And, I think we need to remember, and those of us that have, that the refugees fleeing to our state from places like California, that Arizona was not built on compliance and complacency. Arizona was built on grit and independence, and that spirit is alive and well. And I think we could teach something to the other states in the union as well with our orneriness and that grit.
I love that. And just, a little bit of maybe a civics lesson. Why is the office of Attorney General so important, not just here in Arizona, but in all of the states? And I assume that every state does have their own Attorney General.
Every state does have their own Attorney General. And in Arizona, it's a constitutional position. But the reason it's important is the Attorney General is the office that can hold the line. Our job is to make sure that government stays in its lane and to protect individuals and their rights and states' rights. And let's say you live in California and you have a liberal attorney general. It matters that Arizona has a conservative attorney general that is aggressively looking for ways to bring cases up to the US Supreme Court that affect all of our states, and to make sure that we are pushing back toward liberty and not toward socialism. And so the attorney generals, the Republican attorney generals in the United States, there's over 20 of them, actually gang together and strategically look at cases and sign on to each other's, whether, it's Mississippi bringing an abortion case in the Fifth Circuit, or you saw mandates in the Sixth Circuit, that they are working together to make sure that all 50 states are protected. And Arizona, with our diversity and our Republican legislature and our spirit, really could be a tip of the spear to bring things a lot back to what they constitutionally should be in the entire United States.
Boy, absolutely. And so well said. And when you say that the office of the Attorney General is to keep government in its lane, and then I look at states like California you brought up and some other states, that Attorney General is not keeping government in its lane, because government was set up by our founders to be of, for, and by the people, not when I look at the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, he's basically,
Would you say that word?
He should not be named.
Right. He is basically acting as a king, as a monarch, and just, waving his scepter around and saying, and you shall be closed down, while his own business isn't. And so it is a little mind-boggling that is the whole job of an attorney general, is to keep government in its lane, and how poorly we're seeing that done in some places, and how important that would be, or is always, to have somebody in our own state who actually maybe possibly has read the Constitution and wants to, actually uphold the the oath that everybody takes to uphold the Constitution.
Because there's no buts in the Constitution.
I haven't
seen one in there.
I haven't found one. That's true.
Yeah. And the other thing, since this is Gun Freedom Radio, is when you look at what's going on in New York with their attorney general and the gun cases up there that the US Supreme Court just heard, with the New York Rifle and Pistol Association, you can see what a bad attorney general can do versus versus one that really wants to uphold the rights of the people. The AG's office represents the state, and we defend, the state of Arizona, but we also, our main job is to defend the people of Arizona. And that's a big distinction.
Absolutely. And when you talked about how the Arizona Constitution actually procures and supports more freedoms for the citizens of our state, even over and above the federal Constitution, that's a little earth shattering. Like that's not a pass by line. That's really important. And when our last election, we've elected somebody that has promised, one of our senators, Mark Kelly, he has promised to infringe on our Second Amendment rights to keep and bear arms. And in our state constitution, we don't call it the Second Amendment, but it's Article 2, right? Mm-hmm. He promised to infringe on those things, and we elected him anyway. So it really is on, well, that's another issue for someone who's attorney general, is things like this. When a case comes to you and says, did our election happen the way that it was supposed to, and what are we going to do about it? If you inherit that, switching gears, I'm just going to switch gears in the middle of my own statement and question, but how does that get handled at in the attorney general's office if that whole election case ends up landing on your desk once you are elected, our attorney general?
So it's really interesting. The attorney general can go the direction that they see fit. And so if you put in a liberal attorney general, it'd be a much different answer. My answer is when elected attorney general, any evidence of fraud or not following election law, we will pursue, of course, statute of limitations. But no one in the state of Arizona, I don't care what party you are, I don't care who you are, is going to commit fraud in our elections. And, I was up on the Navajo Nation on election day. We had people at 3 polling places, and there were poll workers telling Navajos that if you are a registered Democrat, it is illegal to vote Republican. Folks, that's election fraud. And so I think going into, I would be going into 24, not 22, is there's 3 parts of election integrity. The first part is our voter registration and making sure that only citizens who have a right to vote are being registered, and we're cleaning the rolls. Election laws are election laws, not election suggestions. And any county recorder that decides to step aside of that will have to deal with the Attorney General's office, who has full authority to enforce those laws. The second part of any election integrity is the actual voting process. And, Arizona just won a US Supreme Court case defending our laws that don't allow out of precinct voting and ballot harvesting. And so those are very, very important things as well that affect all the other states. Now they feel free to pass, anti-ballot harvesting laws, and making sure that we have people on the ground and access. So if you have poll workers with questions or disagreements, or they see something funny going on, ballots aren't already just put into the hopper, because once they're in there, we can count them over and over and over and come out with the same conclusion. And to me, the first 2 areas are the scariest, because that's where negligence, fraud can occur. And this is the basis of our republic. And so we will be ramping up our election division, and during election times, it will be all hands on deck to make sure that we're accessible for questions and to enforce the law fully.
Absolutely. So in this election season, in your candidacy, you're not up against an incumbent. You are up against other candidates who are all kind of on an even playing field. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. General Brinovich Arizona has term limits, and he is termed out and running for the US Senate. So it is considered an incumbent seat in that it's Republican, and we want to keep it Republican, but it's all an even playing field.
And as you are running, this is a statewide office. This isn't, specific districts and that sort of thing. And so how does door knocking work with something like that? Because you got to be everywhere.
We do, and we are just ramping up our grassroots program. I think it's one of the most effective ways to talk to people. I actually door knock as well when I'm not doing other things. And so we're building out teams of volunteers. If you'd like to volunteer, go to sheddforaz.com, sheddforaz.com. But we have a fully implemented staff. I will say it is a bit easier to door knock when you have Maricopa County. It's a little bit more compact versus, the rest of rural Arizona, but it takes all of the above.
Absolutely. That's a big job. So I know, because I know you, and we've kind of let our listeners and our viewers know in your bio that you are very involved with the Second Amendment, with your rights to keep and bear arms. You're passing those principles, those values along to the next generation through your 4-H pistol coaching and shotgun coaching. But how does the position of Attorney General, how would that impact all of our rights as far as the Second Amendment and Article 2, the right to keep and bear arms?
Well, I think it's very important. Every Republican is going to say they check the box on the Second Amendment. But there's a difference between checking the box and being for the Second Amendment in theory and really being for the Second Amendment. And I was talking to a friend who's big in the Second Amendment, and she says, it is a litmus test for all of the other rights. Because if you don't believe that you absolutely have a right to protect yourself, whether it be from crime or a tyrannical government, then do you really believe in any of the other rights? And the Attorney General's office, Arizona, our state legislature passed a law, and we are now a Second Amendment sanctuary state. And we also have a very strong constitution. And being willing to go to the mat and defend Arizonans' right to bear arms, whether that's from the federal government, overreaching senators like Mark Kelly, or cities and counties, frankly. You don't lose your right to bear arms because you cross a county line in Arizona. And that will be a priority. And if any agency decides to step over the line, whether it be through regulatory works, because that's the other place they come after the Second Amendment. It's not just the straight up bans, it's gunsmithing rules and ammo rules, and whether you can do this and that and supplies, that we will be aggressively looking at that, not only to hold the line, but to actually push the needle the other way.
Yeah, I was traveling through Illinois last week or a couple weeks ago, and it's funny how different counties have different laws when it should be the state that says the laws. In Arizona, we're privileged to have that. That, it doesn't matter if I'm in Tucson or in Yuma or whatever, I have a right to carry a gun in one county as I do another. And that's good. What I am really excited about you, Tiffany, is the fact that you taught children basics in firearms, because there's some people that say the only gun safety is no guns at all, and the mothers who whatever they
moms
ban,
whatever,
they want guns not to exist. They don't want to teach children about firearms. There's going to be firearms forever, and teaching the kids how to handle or not handle a gun is so important. Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. And it's been one of the greatest joys of my life to do that. And, one of the best decisions I've made as a mother was we started when my son was 9, he's now 26, was to put our kids in youth shooting sports, which led to coaching and starting a private range and everything else. But, it teaches our kids to be responsible. It teaches our kids to be safe, and it teaches them that while we have amazing rights in this country, it was always set up that you as a citizen need to exercise those rights responsibly, that you have to have the self-control, that it's not government's job to make you responsible. It's an inner thing. And so, it carries over into other areas because I've been coaching for so long. We've seen the fruit of our work where we have kids that are now police officers and in the military. But it teaches responsibility in all areas. If you have gun safety, gun responsibility, then you're also more responsible when you drive, when you just everything that you do. And I think that we're raising our children to not be responsible and to try to keep them bubble wrapped. But I've always believed that the best way to keep our children safe is to teach them how to be safe, to teach them to be independent, to teach them critical thinking. And so that no matter what situation they're in, if you're not there to protect them, that they have the skill set, of course, age appropriately as they grow up, to protect themselves and to become citizens that do that as well as adults.
Right.
Well, that's so well said. And it took my mind back to how you were saying, earlier, boy, somebody needs to do something about, the condition of the state of Arizona. And your husband was like, here's your mirror. The someone is you, right?
Right.
And that is always really the answer. And this is what you're teaching young kids is, you have to be responsible for your own behavior, and every way that we can instill that in children when they're young, that, teach them in the ways that they shall go, right? It's like, if that's always the way that we respond to our youngsters is, well, what part did you play in this? I always said that to my daughter. She'd come home and say, I got a bad grade because the teacher doesn't like me, or, something like that. And I would say, oh, that's interesting. Well, what part did you play in that?
Yeah. Consequences.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So not just the Second Amendment, but so many issues are facing our nation and our state. And one here in Arizona that is on the top of everyone's mind, whether we live, in northern Arizona, middle Arizona, or down on the southern border, is what the heck is going on at the border? How does the Office of Attorney General impact and interact with border issues?
Well, right now, the offices of the Attorney General is about that, and the governor is about all we have in Arizona. The federal government has completely abandoned their duty to secure Arizona's border. And I've never seen anything like it. We actually live in one of the most notorious border trafficking, human trafficking, smuggling routes, cartel routes in Arizona. The Silver Bell route goes right through our 4th generation farm. It was bad during the Obama Holder years, but you ain't seen nothing yet. I mean, it is absolutely out of control. I'm super honored to be endorsed by most of the border ranchers down there, John Ladd, Dan Bell, because they know that I was fighting for border security during the Obama years before President Trump came in and helped us out a lot with his wall and policies. But now, they don't realize what they are creating. We're seeing fentanyl, human trafficking, bodies in the desert, and they have forgotten about the safety of Arizonans. And, the Attorney General's office, number one, first thing, enforce the laws that are on the books. We have full jurisdiction over trafficking, drug, and human. Second is using the political part of the office to encourage our state legislature to declare cartels as terrorist organizations so that we can go after anyone abetting them or part of them with very serious penalties, as well as seizure of assets. Secondly, creating a border zone so that if you are committing certain crimes like those, that we can go for enhanced penalties there. And finally, I think the state of Arizona and our legislature need to bring back the Arizona Rangers. My great grandmother dated a ranger in territorial days. And for those that don't know their Arizona history, we had a border problem before we were state, Pancho Villa, and a lot of stuff coming over. Sounds pretty familiar. It's deja vu all over again. And, we want to give support to our county sheriffs, our DPS, all of our law enforcement. But the fact of the matter is we need more firepower. And I think it would send a message. It deals with some jurisdictional issues. And we, while I am so thankful for our Border Patrol agents, the fact that they're federal means that their policies are dictated from the Biden White House, and Arizona can no longer stand and just let this go on. And the final thing the Attorney General's office can do is, if we get a governor who is willing to do the hard things to secure the border as far as Arizona goes, the Attorney General's office will defend those decisions in the courts.
Absolutely. And then talk to us again, going back to an earlier conversation we were having about the relationship between the Attorney General and the Supreme Court. Are we talking about, the federal Supreme Court, our state Supreme Court? What were you referencing?
All of them.
All of them.
So depending on which jurisdiction it has, which jurisdiction over the matter, but when we're dealing with federal issues, we're talking about the U.S. Supreme Court, the Ninth Circuit, unfortunately for Arizona, and then also the Arizona Supreme Court. And that is making sure we're defending laws that are Constitution in our Arizona Constitution and the U.S. Constitution, while pushing back on anything that infringes upon those laws and rights. Jokingly, I was asked, what are the top 3 priorities of the Arizona Attorney General's office? And I do have a serious answer, but sue the Biden administration, sue the Biden administration, sue the Biden administration.
Yes. Not because of a partisan thing, but because they're actually infringing, they're breaking their own oath, because every single elected official takes an oath to protect and defend the exact same Constitution, no matter what party they ascribe to, right?
And they are battering against states' rights. I mean, Arizona agencies already have authority to deal with a lot of the issues, everything from the environment to health, et cetera. And the federal government does not have the authority to usurp our state agencies, our state legislature, our election systems, our gun rights, the management of our natural resources, the management of our wildlife. I'm a hunter. I know there's other people that like to hunt, probably listening to your show. And that's Arizona's job. That's not the federal. And, they're using everything from climate change to COVID to usher in a socialist or communist regime that has no reference to the Constitution. And they openly admit it, that they say this is not constitutional, but we're going to do it anyway until some attorney general can push back enough and a court overrules us. That is not how good government works. And that is not how they should be doing their job. And so, I can say this, as the next attorney general, I will be the most aggressive you have ever seen in protecting things, because not only do I want to see my state survive in the free land of gold water, awesome place it is, I want the rest of the United States too. And this is no longer going to be a sleepy little office. This is the tip of the spear.
Shoot, she froze.
In Arizona, and moving the ball back toward a constitutional republic.
Absolutely. And I think you may have even answered the next question I have for you as we start winding down, but perhaps you could elaborate a bit more. But what makes you, Tiffany Shedd, citizen who is stepping up to use your gifts and talents and your experience and training as an attorney, what makes you uniquely qualified to hold one of the 50 offices of Attorney General across this nation, but for here in our own state of Arizona?
Well, I think, there's a number of reasons. And I think one of the most important is I have never worked for the government as an attorney. I've worked against the government. I've worked in natural resources and for business owners, and watched the federal tentacles go through the administrative system, whether it's drought contingency plan or, Navajo generating station, power industry. And I think having that mindset that I'm one of the people and work for the people and not I'm part of the government because I've always worked for the government is huge. I also think that, you're going to, in a Republican primary, you're going to see people checking the box for the Republican things, but have they lived out their values? I've never been a Democrat. I've never donated to a Democrat. I've always been pro-gun. I've always been pro-life. My life exemplifies that. When I talk about keeping Arizona one of the most business-friendly states, that's because I've built businesses. These are not esoteric ideas. When I talk about securing the border, it's because I've had friends murdered and a huge amount of crime happening literally on my property. And when we talk about election integrity, I've seen election fraud actually in action. And so I think it's easy to say one thing, and it's easy to have an attitude of this is how we go along to get along. But as a private attorney, clients don't come to you for you to tell them how you cannot get things done. They come to you and say, how do I get this done? How do we move this forward? And I think the creativity that you get from private practice will be refreshing in the Attorney General's office, because I will use the bully pulpit, I will use our political power of influence in the legislature to get things done creatively. If we can't get there one way, we will get there another, to make sure that we protect the people of Arizona and follow the Constitution and keep our freedoms for the next generation.
Fantastic.
Yes.
That is so well said. We're having a little bit of connectivity issues, but your voice came through loud and clear on all of that. And so as we start wrapping up, how do people follow the work that you're doing, help with your campaign? Because campaigns take manpower and they take finances. If people are listening, across the state of Arizona, obviously, because this is a state office, they can participate and help and donate. If people are listening in other states and they're like, it is important enough to see a strong constitutional-based attorney general get elected in a state that I don't even live in, I do want to donate or support. Is that okay? Is that allowed? Just tell folks how they can help.
Absolutely. And we can take out of state money, just not foreign money, which I wouldn't take anyway. And so if you live in another state and you realize you're not going to have an attorney general fighting for you, we'd appreciate your support. You can go to Shedd4AZ, SHEDDFORAZ.com. And also, if you're in another state, you can do phone calls. We can set you up to do phone banking from your cell phone right in your living room. And if you're in state, we have all of those options plus a lot more. Again, go to our website. You can email info@shedd4az.com. And we'd really, really love to have your help. And we're going to need it because it's going to take every single one of us to keep our country. And there's a quote I like from a movie, and it says there's 3 types of people. There's sheep, there's wolves, and there's sheepdogs. And we have a wolf epidemic in this country right now. And so each one of you who are willing to do even the smallest thing is a sheepdog that your country will thank you for doing those things later. And I know I sure could use the help. I'm willing to charge up the hill alone, but it'd sure be nice to turn around and see that there's some people charging behind me. So thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for all that you do. We'll be checking back in to see how it's going. And then once you are elected, we'll definitely be seeing how everything's going.
Absolutely. I'll be glad, especially once I'm elected. No ivory tower elitist girl here. We'll be chatting.
Absolutely. Thank you so much,
All right.
Tiffany
Thanks, Tiffany.
Shedd.
Thank you, Tiffany. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
So a little bit of pinging on her voice.
We got it,
froze
though.
a couple of times, but I think I
Right.
think it all came through okay. That's part of, living in rural areas. Sometimes your bandwidth starts to
Right.
fail a little bit, but boy, I love what she stands for. We know her personally. We know Tiffany personally. We have lots of mutual friends, and you just never hear gossip. You don't hear
Right.
skeletons in the closet. She is as genuine as the day is long. And
Well, I like the
I think
Second
she could
Amendment
be
thing.
super phenomenally impactful for the state
Right.
of Arizona.
The Second Amendment thing with no buts. That's
Yeah.
what I like.
Mhm.
And because like she was saying that if you don't follow the Second Amendment, then the other amendments mean nothing.
Mm.
You got to
It's
have it.
so true. I mean,
Yeah.
it really, everything does work interactively. When we ignore our borders, look at the stuff she mentioned
Right.
happens. One of the other things is I was watching another podcast. It was the Timcast, ILR podcast. And he stated so clearly for me, I'd never heard it stated this way so clearly before. He said one of the reasons that we should really care about our border issues and all of this wave of people just coming across is because when our census is taken, our census just counts bodies, right? It doesn't count if you are a citizen or not. I believe President Trump wanted that designation in the census and it got shot down. So just bodies in our country. And then the numbers of bodies in each state impacts how the districts are drawn, right? The different legislative districts are drawn. And we are in the middle of that happening right now.
Yep.
We're redrawing all kinds of districts across the nation. And when the people that are being represented, maybe they don't have our shared values. Maybe they don't even understand fully what our Constitution is, why we have a Constitution, what people went through. Our founding fathers and mothers fought, bled, starved, and died to have that Constitution. So you can't just turn a blind eye to some law or some regulation that tramples on
It's
that.
just a ploy to keep those, to benefit more of the democratic ways of, I don't know how to explain
Well,
it, but
that's a conundrum for me. That is a conundrum. So if you are someone who did trek across, continent
Mhm.
to get here, and the reason you trekked here was because the United States is the shiny beacon on the hill,
right.
and you're fleeing, socialism, communism, big government, and when big government turns on you, why would that automatically, why would you think that because you've come in not legally, that you would ascribe to what the Democratic Party currently stands for? It doesn't make any sense
Yes,
to
it
me.
does. And I'll tell you why it does. Because the people that are fleeing here don't really know what's going on. They just know it's free here. Everything, we're a free country. But then when they get here, not only are they living in a free country, but they're given free stuff and they're easily persuaded. They don't know that they are causing the problem.
I mean, I understand that.
No?
I hear what you're saying, but it's a head scratcher for me.
It is a head scratcher, but it is changing things. A friend of mine that lives in Buckeye says his area is changing so much that they're no longer going to have a voice. The people that implanted in that area, the ones that invested all their businesses, time and money and everything else, are being lowered. Their voices aren't being heard. What's being heard is the transit people that are coming in that aren't even sure that they're going to live there. They're just there right now. So, but I do
Interesting.
really think that people don't realize that to have the freedom that we have is not because people give us stuff for nothing. It's because we worked hard, we sacrificed, but they're coming here not knowing that they have to go through those sacrifices.
So I would say, yes, we have to secure our borders. We absolutely have to get that done immediately. But I would also say that anybody that is in your circle of influence, like your physical presence, if you personally, you individually, me individually, if we could realize how impactful human to human communication is, if we started helping other people, especially if they're brand new to this country, maybe came and didn't do it legally, if we could help them understand what our nation was founded on, right there, one person at a time, whether we like that person came in illegally or not, if we could help them understand us better, then if they do end up showing up at a voting booth, then they would have a better understanding of
it's hard
where this country was founded and where that needle of freedom needs to land. I mean, is that naive of me?
No,
Am
I
being naive?
understand, but so I know a few people that came here illegally. They came here as kids and they're adults now. They were forced here because their parents came and they became here, and they're still here illegal because they're afraid to go through the process. They might get kicked back.
And do you have any inkling how they vote?
So,
or do they
yes,
vote?
most of them just,
or what they believe, I guess is what I should
the few
say.
that I know don't vote. They don't make any waves. They do nothing but sit and lay low. Two that I know don't depend on the government for anything, not medical, nothing. And that no welfare, they work and they work their butts off.
So if they could vote,
so what I'm saying is
they
that
probably wouldn't vote for socialism.
Right. The ones that I know, I'm trying to influence them to go through the channels to get become citizens. And then we talk politics all the time when I see them, and we talk about that, and we have some discussions sometimes that are not 100% agreeable, but I am trying to influence on how I live. So you can do that, but it's hard because most of the people that come from other countries, they kind of stay to themselves and their groups. So,
well, I just feel like there's such a push out there for people that to believe that people that come in illegally are automatically going to support socialism and communism, and
they don't know
the
that
direction
it's that
of what happens to be the direction of the Democratic Party right now. And so we should keep our distance from them, and that they're a lost cause. We should throw our arms up and it's a lost cause. And that doesn't make sense to me. Right. I think we can always impact someone somewhere.
We can, and we have to talk to people, but they don't know.
And maybe I'm naive.
They don't know that the Democratic Party is a socialist party. we're just now breaking that news.
Right, but they should definitely be able to smell socialism a mile away.
Well,
And they should definitely not want to help bring socialism to the place that they ran to.
I know.
Anyway,
It's hard.
that's probably a bigger
We don't know.
discussion for another
Hey,
time. But
you know what we need to do?
what do we need to do, Dan?
We need to pray for our nation.
We do, but we also want to tell folks how they can find other episodes
How
of our
could
show.
they find other episodes of our show?
Well, I am glad you asked that.
Yes.
If you are one of our listeners and you want to listen only to the audio only version of each of our shows, you can go to our website, GunFreedomRadio.com, click the on demand tab and binge listen to your heart's content. Darling, all of the episodes we have there. And if you click the guest tab, that has photos and bios and links to all the works of all the guests that we've ever had on. We've had some incredible subject matter experts on over the years.
There must be thousands of now.
And I don't know if it's thousands,
There
but
could, I'll bet you there's over.
hundreds.
Yeah, there's a lot. And what's really cool, you're here guest today. You want to know more about them. You can click on their information and learn all about them. And you can see all the way back to our first guest, right?
Absolutely.
50,000 years ago.
And not quite that long ago. And our very first guest ever, do you remember?
Yes.
Do you remember?
Yes.
Oh, I almost pulled my
remember.
listener out of my ear. This guy right here. Ken Blanchard, Black Man with a Gun. First guest ever. This book is still very relevant, very awesome. Looking for gifts for the holidays? There you go, right there. Yeah, awesome guy. Stepped right up. I didn't even have any history to tell him, yeah, I'm a decent host, or we're decent hosts. And he just said, yeah, come on.
What a great gift for Christmas this year. What would be better than taking somebody, give them the gift of freedom by telling them how, tell them how things are, the rights, and,
I love it.
Teach them to go shooting, teach them about the Constitution.
Love it.
Teach them about stuff. What a great gift that would be.
Gift of your own personal time.
Keeps on giving, Clark.
Keeps on giving. And then if you are one of our viewers, right?
Somebody who looks at our show.
Right. Wherever there is internet, we have listeners and viewers far beyond the borders of the United States. And so if you are one of our viewers and you like to watch these episodes, the video portion, you can go to YouTube, Gun Streamer, or the OpsLens smartphone app. And here's the thing. Once you get to YouTube and Gun Streamer, please subscribe, because that would be a gift you could give us for the holidays.
Yes. Click that button.
We have been an audio-based show much longer than we've had a video portion of our show. And so we don't have a lot of subscribers. We so value those of you who have subscribed. And also, once you subscribe with your pinky up, you press the notifications button and you'll be notified of all the new content that we post up. We would so appreciate that. That would be Santa Claus come to town for us if everybody out there watching and listening would take time to do that for us.
You
so
mentioned
much.
the internet and how you could connect. I question whether we've never had any response from Korea, whether or not they can hear us over there. But now I'm questioning, how about Australia? Did they shut them down from listening to shows like ours? Yet?
I actually get email from one specific gentleman in Australia on a regular basis. So
they still can hear us.
As far as I know,
they can't go outside.
They can. He's always interacting with me about what's going on over there down under, and just a great guy. So anyway, and yeah, we love it when you guys reach out and tell us what's on your mind. So you can either DM us on one of our.
She sure doesn't like it when I tell her what's on my mind.
That's a whole different. That's a whole different topic. Or you can email us at talk@gunfreedomradio.com. TALK@gunfreedomradio.com. All right, now, Dan, we're going to
tell them how to get a hold of us.
Pray for.
Pray for our leaders. No, pray for our nation first.
Absolutely. Pray for our nation. Pray for all nations.
Yep.
And, the people that have been put in positions of authority and leadership, and representation of the citizenry.
Let's
There's
pray
a
for them.
few of them that, we feel like they could do better, right? We mentioned one earlier
Yeah,
in
we're not going to say that.
California.
Yeah.
What about those guys, those men and women? We want to pray for them too, right? He's thinking. This is
I
when we
was
need the
just,
Jeopardy
I
music.
think, why? I mean, they are rulers.
Well,
no,
wouldn't they need prayer
But
more?
when you said that, all I think about was Newsom going to dinner with no mask on in a restaurant that was closed to the public.
Yeah,
What was that called?
the French
The
Laundry.
French Laundry, and it wasn't a laundromat, but they should do a cleaning on him.
I see
But
what you
anyway,
did there.
so that came to me, and it's like, I know I have to pray for them because we got to pray that they get wisdom to learn that they're not leaders, that they are representatives of us. But
Yeah, exactly. See, you got it. You got it. Maybe especially for them,
I'd rather just go talk to the guy.
like you would have any opportunity.
I would just say nice things and just tell him that, he forgot what he was put in office for.
That's true. If we were one of his constituents, we might have an opportunity, but somebody from Arizona, he's going to be like, yeah, I'm not taking that call. Yeah, I'm not taking
You think
that
he'd listen
meeting.
to people from California? You're funny.
I know.
You're funny.
Well, we can hope, right?
He's not listening to nothing but his grandma or aunt or whatever she is.
Yeah.
Nancy.
Yeah. What is he?
Nephew-
Somehow
nephew
related
or
to
something.
Nancy
Yeah.
Pelosi. I can't remember how, but all right,
Ooh,
we got to
what a
we got to get out of here.
yeah, I'm related to Nancy. I couldn't say that. If I was, I couldn't say it.
Oh, but tell us how you really feel. No, don't tell us how you really feel. All right, we got to get out of here.
All right, let's
Until
go.
next time, be good to each other. Have a great week, and God bless.
God bless. Bye-bye.